He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. And today we're actually going to be celebrating an institution that has contributed to fun and entertainment in coastal Mississippi for 25 years. Today, we're going to have a pandemic diversion celebrating the 25th anniversary of WCPR. So let me kind of give you some background. WCPR actually started as a country station. The format was, I think it was US 98. It was during 1994 and 1995. And then on September the 20th, 1995, the station dropped the country for active rock, and Real Rock 97.9 WCPR was born. It became the first rock station in coastal Mississippi and started a journey to define itself as one of the strongest rock stations in the country. WCPR was actually founded and conceived by New Orleans radio veterans Kenny Vest, Scot Fox, and Weird Wayne Watkins. They were joined in Mississippi by Coast Vue producer Kyle Curley. Unbelievably, Kenny, Scott, and Kyle are still with the station today, 25 years later. That is unheard of in the radio business these days. In 2012, 13, 14, 15, and in 2016, WCPR was nominated Small Market Radio Station of the Year. It's actually owned by TeleSouth, the company that owns SuperTalk. This is going to be a blast. We've got a lot of special guests that are going to be joining us along the way. And so now I want to welcome to the first part of the show, Kenny Vest, Kyle Curley, and Scot Fox. Welcome to Coast Vue, you guys.
What's up, Ricky?
Good to see you. So look, we got a long way to go and a lot to talk about. So Kenny, why don't you kind of kick it off?
Yeah, we started CPR. We came over from New Orleans, Scott and I, along with Weird Wayne. We never thought we would be here this long. We thought it was going to be maybe a year or two. And be normal radio guys and jump around market to market. But 25 years later, we're still here. So we signed on the station, like you said, September 20th, 1995 at 3 o'clock. The first song we played was Alive by Pearl Jam. And then at 5:07 p.m. that afternoon, a car hit a telephone pole downtown Gulfport, which our studios were located, and we went off the air. So we were dead. We were off the air, and I think everybody thought it was a stunt because what we did leading up to the flipping of the country station to the rock station, we did something in radio called stunting, where you play crazy stuff on the air. We were playing TV themes for 24 hours, all Elvis and Michael Jackson. It's to get attention. So the whole market was talking, hey, this country station's playing all this crazy stuff. TV station, I think LOX did a story on us. You guys may have done something at the Sun Herald. Anyway, so it's to garnish to get interest, even if you're not a listener. What's this station doing? So we made the flip to CPR, and then like I said, 2 hours later we're off the air. So people were really confused. And we came back on that night, and here we are today. It's been an unbelievable journey for all of us.
And we're gonna cover some really important milestones along the way. Scott, what do you remember about those early days?
Whew. Well, we started out in a little building across from the courthouse. It was a house that was converted into a radio station. And well, I tell you, so far ago, I don't remember a lot, Ricky, but I know we had a lot of fun, and we had some good people working with us, and we still do.
Well, it's amazing that you guys are still here and able to have this moment of celebration. Kyle, what do you remember?
I think I have about the same memory issues as Scot Fox. I did overnights, and it was kind of on the tail end of college, so that was an easy gig for me, was staying up all night. And that house in Gulfport was kind of scary, just because it was just an old creaky house. And just through the years, we've had a lot of people run through. I heard the many years that we were nominated for Small Station of the Year. Did we ever win one? Or are we the Susan Lucci of small market radio? There's just so many things. What's that?
I don't think we ever won.
Yeah, I don't either. We should have. I think we just never got a fair shake. It's probably too political for us, but there's just so much that's happened over the years. They all kind of run together, and it's just been one heck of a ride.
So Kenny, tell about the event down in Gulfport, where you guys first realized, holy mackerel, we're onto something.
You know, when we started the station, literally the next day after the power went out, we were off the air, we started asking people to call us. And it wasn't just a few calls. It was just nonstop, literally 24 hours a day we were getting calls. And it was a general theme. These callers would all say basically the same thing. They were thanking us, which we found to be interesting. They were so excited that there was new rock on the Gulf Coast, and it was just overwhelming. It snowballed. I mean, and Kyle can attest to it. The phones would be just nonstop from 24 hours a day.
So tell about the.
I was there at 4 a.m.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Tell us about the event that you held, where over 6,000 people showed up.
Yeah. So we thought we had something. We didn't know what we had. We started doing, remotes. And for those that don't know what a remote is, it's a live broadcast from a business. And we would say, come out, get a CPR T-shirt. And literally 40 cars would pull up within 15 minutes. And we all came from New Orleans radio. And it didn't happen like that in New Orleans. It's a bigger market and everything. But so we all kind of suspected, we really may have something here, because the response was just crazy. So a few months into it, we said, you know what, let's do a show. This would be a great barometer to see if we have what we think we have. And so we called our good friend from New Orleans, who is a legend, a living legend, Mr. Fred LeBlanc from Cowboy Mouth, and said, Fred, come over. We want to do a show. We're going to make it a free show out in a field in Gulfport. So we booked the show. Talked about it like crazy, but we had no gauge to see how many tickets we were selling, because it was a free show. So we didn't know there was 10 people there, 100 people there. The success in our minds, we were shooting for 500 or more. We would have considered that a success. And the show came, and over 6,000 people showed up to the Rice Pavilion. We did it on the field outside the Rice Pavilion, which is now Jones Park. I can talk about it a little more, but it was. So
let's bring Fred LeBlanc from Cowboy Mouth. Fred, what do you?
Hey,
what's up, Fred?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Great.
Good. Crazy times.
What do you remember about it?
What happened was, I remember Kenny coming up, and Kenny, Kenny's a wonderful guy, but he's very together. It's hard to rattle Kenny. So, and he came up, and I remember he was a little apprehensive. He's like, Fred, look, I don't know whether we're going to get 10 people or 200 or something. Like, well, whatever happens, happens. Let's just have fun with it. Let's just have a great time. And then it was just like the sea of people that just showed up. And I could tell later on that, he was pretty happy with the way things were going. And, it was really great, because it was just an insane show. It was the first time that, that group of, people had been together and done something. I'm talking about the audience mostly, just, because there's tons of people that listen to, that type of music and did at the time, but, they never had something they could coalesce around it. And the great thing about CPR was it really created as much of a community, a rock community, as anything else. And you guys need to be commended for that, because y'all have done that for 25 years. That's pretty impressive.
It's amazing. It's really amazing that it's gone on that long. So Fred, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you coming in, and we appreciate you being part of history.
Well, you know what? Life is to be enjoyed, not endured, right?
Well, good luck in this pandemic moment, that's for sure. So coming back to you, Kenny. So we continued on, and y'all just continued to establish yourself as sort of the place that people go for rock music in coastal Mississippi, and that has held true all the way through today. That's been the case, hasn't it?
It has. We play a lot of new music. At the time, we were playing more new music than we are today. But yeah, we were the rock station on the coast. The only competition we had was frequency that we own now. But back then, we didn't own it. It was 96.7, which is it was classic rock back then. So yeah,
so
let's do this. New rock 25 years.
We're coming to the end of this segment, but when we come back, we're gonna ask Rebecca Powers to join us. She had a morning show, and we're gonna talk to her. We're gonna hear from TicTak in the third segment. We're gonna have a terrific conversation with Brad Arnold from Three Doors Down, who's part of the story. We'll have Kevin Harris at the end of the show, but we're going to continue the conversation after this break.
You are not ready.
And now, a very special announcement. We here at Digital 97.9 have been listening to you.
Survey set?
You have spoken.
What?
And you have spoken loud.
Oh, you're dead.
You've told us what you want your favorite radio station to sound like. Unfortunately, that radio station hasn't existed. Until now.
Are you ready for?
Put away the cassettes and CDs and get real. Welcome to Radio for the 90s.
Okay, bring in the dream.
Announcing the Gulf Coast's only choice for new music.
Real rock.
97.9 WCPR.
For real.
The Gulf Coast's real rock. From Van Halen to Pearl Jam. From Def Leppard to Stone Temple Pilots. Tom Petty to Soundgarden.
Get real.
It's all here. On Real Rock. 97.9 WCPR.
Now that's impressive.
So crank it up and get real.
Real rock.
They're for real.
We're nuts.
Somebody tells me they're excited about this.
You like Avenged Sevenfold? 3 days grace? Caesar? How about Bullet for My Valentine? What a great
Right? Don't forget about Escape the Fates.
Art of Dying. How many people were next door at the convention center? Awesome. Well, we want to thank everybody for coming out to CPR Fest 15. Who cares about a tropical storm? We're high and dry inside the Coliseum, right? I heard that.
And of course, we do have to say thank you again to a couple of people that if it was not for these people, we could not have done CPR Fest 15 was as the Rockstar Energy Drink Upward Festival. Thank you again to Hard Rock Hotel Casino in Biloxi, Pepsi, Bay Tobacco and Beer, Kill Tobacco and Beer, Whatever Eating in Air, and the United States Marine Corps. And don't forget,
Yeah, that was the U.S. Marine Corps. Let's hear it for the
and
Marines.
now let's give it up for the Armed Forces. Come on. Also, I want to remind everybody here that when CPR Fest 15 is over, the party does not end. The official CPR Fest 15 after party is going to be at Club 151 on Oak Street in Biloxi with music from Edison, Five Star Fiasco, and Now or Never. So I want all of y'all to come out and rock out, okay? We'll all have a drink and be good.
And Betty will be there, you guys.
And it'll be face down in tequila, I promise.
Get ready to keep rocking. Coming up on this stage in just a couple more minutes.
Seether.
Seether.
Hard man.
Be sure to go by this station's website and check out the half-off deals. Audubon Zoo tickets for just $15. That's half price. $30 zoo tickets for just $15. Again, go to this station's website or Facebook. Look for the half-off deals logo to purchase yours now.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a terrific conversation about the 25th anniversary of WCPR. I want to thank Fred LeBlanc from Cowboy Mouth for joining us in that last segment. We've got Rebecca Powers, TicTak, Kevin Harris, Brad Arnold going to be joining us coming up. So stick with us as we continue this journey of WCPR. So Kenny, you guys started the morning show. Tell me about that.
Well, we started with a different morning show, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. After the Cowboy Mouth show, the next thing was, do we have ratings? You know, we've got these listeners, we've got these callers. the ratings came out and they were just through the roof. So it put CPR on a pedestal. Now we're real. Now we're generating revenue. We burst onto the scene, this big rock station doing all these big things, and now we have ratings and revenue to back it up. So fast forward a few years down the line, we had a new morning show come in. We moved a guy in. His name was Kevin Cruz. He passed away. Rest in peace, Kevin Cruz. And he did this morning show that was just. He was all over the place. It was controlled chaos. He would put callers on the air live. He was controversial, and again, it's all about ratings and revenue. And he had huge ratings and a lot of revenue. And Rebecca Allen at the time was a producer at WLOX, which was right across the parking lot from us, and we brought her in to do news. This is now, like I said, we fast forward a little bit. So we purchased a group of stations. So we combined CPR with another group of stations. So we had 4 or 5 stations now. So we're all in the building. So Rebecca was hired part-time to do news in the morning on all of the stations. And I'm going to let her tell how that evolved into the Cruz, Chuck, and Rebecca morning show.
Come on in, Rebecca.
Hey, y'all. Good morning. Yeah, it was great. I interned at WDSU in New Orleans, and I got an offer at WLOX to be a producer. So I did the 4 o'clock show, and one day David Ellie and I were talking, and he's like, "How's it going, kid?" And I said, "Oh, it's okay, but I'm only making $17,000. I can barely even pay my grad school bills, you know." And he said, "Well, you know that little hut in the back parking lot? That's actually a radio station. And they just have a bunch of hacks that are picking up the Sun Herald and reading it every day. They're doing a bunch of DJs, you know. They probably like to have like a real news person. And, you know, you have a nice voice, I guess, and go try out." So I went in the audio booth at WLOX and I did a little cassette, you know, they're called cassette tapes for you young people that don't know this. So I did a little cassette, went over there, walked into Kenny Vest's office and said, "Hey, do you need a news person?" And he said, "Okay, I'll take your tape." And then the next day he called me and said, "Okay, you can start on a trial basis. You can start tomorrow." So I'd work at the radio station from 5 to 9, and then I'd walk across the parking lot and work at WLOX from 9 to 5. So I was going into each booth. I would just walk down the hall. I'd have my news already. I'd walk down the hall, and it was like Kiss 107 and Classic Rock 105.9. And I would just kind of, read in every station. But when I would go into the CPR room, this Kevin Cruz guy would always give me, not a hard time, but he would challenge me constantly. Like I would say, "Watch out, it's going to be a really wet day tomorrow." He'd say, "Oh, really? How wet is it going to be?" And I'd say, finally one day I said, "You were so immature. You were da-da-da-da-da." And anyway, after about 3 months, about 6 in the morning, Kenny Vest used to live in Slidell, by the way. So he would drive to the coast every morning for like an hour, and he would listen to our show, or listen to all of his stations probably. And he called one morning and he said, "Hey, don't worry about all the other stations. Just stay with Kevin in CPR." And I said, "Oh, God, please don't make me. Why? Why?" And he said, "I'm telling you, y'all are magic together." And ended up being, it was Cruz and Chuck at the time. So it was Cruz, Chuck, and Rebecca. And then our ratings Kenny says they were like, what? Kind of unheard of, right, for a while.
Yeah, it was, I don't think we'll ever recreate that. They were getting a 28 to a 30 share in the market in our target demo back then, which was 18 to 34. Walton and Johnson is the number one show in the market now, and those numbers, that they get half of what Rebecca and Cruz got. It was just, it was a huge success. To get a 28, 30 share was unbelievable.
So Kenny's story, he's sort of a kingmaker. He
is.
Has the magic, doesn't he?
He's a talent finder. And, it's funny, Brad Arnold's going to come on in a little while with 3 Doors Down. And I remember so well having a little clipboard with a pencil. And Kenny would call in the morning. He said, "Okay, anytime anybody requests kryptonite, do me a favor and put a check mark. Write it down and put a check mark. Not fake requests, not, his dad or anybody from Escatawpa, like real requests." And that's how Kenny and Scott and Weirdo, got 3 Doors Down signed. And then one evening, I'm sound asleep on the couch, and my friend calls from New Orleans. It's like, oh my God, put on the Jay Leno show. It's your friends from Three Doors. And it was crazy. It was just really an amazing, crazy time. And I got to play CPR Fest the day before, when Three Doors did, right before they went on tour for the first time. So Kenny is definitely a talent finder. And you talked about stunts, Ricky. I remember when he put up a billboard with my dog's picture and a gun to her head and said, listen now, the dog gets it. Listen now or the dog gets it. And a week later was terrible, but it was the Columbine, school shooting. So the phone started blowing up and calling everybody, like, you're horrible people. And I called Kenny all upset. And I said, can we take it down? And he's like, hell no, this is the best. Like, this is unbelievable. So
hey, Rebecca, I remember so well when I was at the Sun Herald and that billboard went up. Probably the same thing at WLOX. We all went crazy. What in the world? What in the world is this crazy rock station doing?
And you know what? We are all dog lovers. We all have dog. And it was a thing that we did that, looking back, you can kind of laugh at it now, but it was stressful. We were getting hit from every angle. Take it down. The mayor was calling. ABC in New York did a story on it. It was chaotic. But what we ended up doing was we twisted it, and shouldn't use the word twisted, but we went to the Humane Society and we turned that into, now that we have your attention, we want to raise money for the Humane Society. So we locked Kevin Cruz in a big cage on the grounds of the Coast Coliseum.
That's right.
And he broadcast from there, and we said we're not going to let him out until we raise $20,000, and we did that within 13 hours. So
wow, that's so amazing. Hey, Rebecca, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. You can stick around for sure. So Kenny, moving on, you continue to sort of build a head of steam, and you want to bring TicTak in now and let him share some perspective about kind of where he was and what's his perspective on WCPR. TicTak, how you doing, buddy?
Yes. Good morning. Can you see me?
So give us your spill.
Okay, so here's my vibe, and the thing about CPR. CPR is not a radio station. It is a love brand. It is one of those enigmas that if it went away tomorrow, people would protest. And the bottom line about CPR is it's like family. People have grown up. Their kids listen to it. They've had babies to it. There are a lot of people that work at, any kind of job. They listen to it for long periods of time. If it was just a radio station that played rock music, it wouldn't be around. There's something to this. Like when you walk, let's say you go into a Walmart store. What do you think the number one rock T-shirt would be? You see people with Metallica shirts or any other rock band. But the one thing you see around the Gulf Coast, and this tells me everything I need to know, people wear those CPR shirts. From CPR Fest #1, #2, #7. And you don't see a lot of that in other cities. CPR, you can't buy the loyalty that its listeners have. You can listen to any song on an appliance, on the radio, on your internet, anywhere, any place. You cannot listen to CPR. Is a living, breathing entity, and people care about that radio station. Any other station that would come on against it, well, guess what? You can't buy the loyalty that CPR has between its listeners, and that's something that Kenny and Scott and Wayne and anybody, Kyle. Rebecca, they've all put it together. They all have families. Their families have grown up, and that's a magical thing. That is, very powerful. So.
But TicTak, those are awesome perspectives. And in the last segment, actually, we're going to talk about where is CPR today, because we're not talking about a brand that you just described so eloquently that existed 10 years ago or 25 years ago. We're talking about a brand that exists today, a brand that today is still churning out amazing numbers. And what's interesting is the broadening demographic. As you pointed out, people have grown up and are still listening, and now their kids are listening, and you see this reflected in the numbers. So what we're going to do, we're coming to the end of this segment. When we come back, we're going to talk about CPR Fest, the show Homegrown. Brad Arnold's going to join us for the conversation. He's got a new single out called Wicked Man. We're going to ask him about that. We'll be back right after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast. This is 97.9 WCPR FM, D'Iberville, Gulfport, Biloxi, Pascagoula. Listen live at 97.9CPRRocks.com. When the Germans bombed Pearl River, CPR was there. When man landed on Pluto, CPR was there. When Larry Pascagoula discovered the town of Pascagoula,
You smell fish?
CPR was right there. We're your news authority. 97.9 CPR Rocks. We're always there, even when it didn't happen. This is CPR music. And this is a drunk chicken. CPR Rocks. CPR, remembering Michael Bolton. Oh, he didn't die or anything. We're just remembering him. CPR Rocks. If you thought that song was bad, listen to this one. CPR Rocks. Swing your partner around and round, drink some beer, and then fall down. CPR Rocks. Y'all come back now, you hear? And now, another 97.9 CPR 4th of July fake news fact. Did you know that the 4th of July was originated by two Mississippi residents? Tommy Forth and Larry July created the holiday in 1977 so they could have an extra day of beer drinking and fighting. And now, another 97.9 CPR 4th of July fake news fact. For over 159 years, the 4th of July holiday was called 4th of Julie, until an eagle-eyed plumber from Gulfport named Jim noticed the spelling typo in 1989. We interrupt this interruption to bring you another interruption to let you know that another hour of 97.9 CPR Rock starts now with fewer interruptions than last hour's interruptions. CPR presents Godsmack with Shinedown Live and Red Sun Rising. The show is August 15th at the Coast Coliseum. Win tickets by listening and calling CPR. Or don't listen and just go to 97.9CPRRocks.com. On one hand, CPR plays brand new rock. On the other hand, we play a bunch of cool 90s stuff. And on the other hand, holy crap, I just realized I have 3 hands. Why didn't anybody tell me? What the hell? Please help me! CPR Rocks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for, 97.9 CPR Rocks will now play one song in a row with no interruptions. When you hear AC/DC and Kenny Rogers,
you painted up your lips and rolled and curled your tinted hair,
you know somebody at CPR must be drunk. It's an epic motion picture. The critically acclaimed Scot Fox Super Show, the movie. Starring Golden Globe nominee Scot Fox as Scot Fox. Critics are saying Scot Fox is brilliant as Scot Fox in one of Scot Fox's all-time best performances. Starts Friday at select theaters in Van Cleve. This film has been rated XXX and is not intended for people who are offended by frontal nudity or donkeys drinking beer.
Ladies and gentlemen, CPR Fest is back, starring Limp Bizkit, Aaron Lewis of Stained, also starring Buckcherry, Trapped, Sick Puppies, and more. Saturday, July 10th at Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster. CPR Fest 14, another exclusive production from Beaver Productions at 97.9 CPR Rocks. So come and get it.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse@telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk Mississippi. Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, SuperTalk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, the Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, and the Borky Show are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for SuperTalk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts.
The stay-at-home orders, the new state flag, the mask mandates, the protests and riots in many of our nation's cities, the battle for the White House. So far, 2020 has been a year like no other, and only one radio station has covered it all from a Mississippi point of view, SuperTalk Mississippi. And hang on, because who knows what 2020 will bring us next. Whatever it is, SuperTalk will be right here to deliver it to you live. Listen in all 82 counties statewide. SuperTalk Mississippi.
He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a terrific conversation about the history, the 25th anniversary, actually, of WCPR. And we're going to hear from Brad Arnold in this segment. And it's just been what a great look back. And it's just as strong today. That's what, we're headed there. We're not looking back on strength. We're looking at the strength that exists today. Hey, I'm actually curious, Kenny, how did WCPR get its name?
You know what? When we were sitting around trying to think of a name, we thought of Planet Rock. We thought of, an animal, the buzzard or the crawfish, just crazy stuff. And we're sitting around. Scot Fox said, what about call letters? And he came up with the call letters WCPR. And we were like, there's no way those are available. And we checked the FCC through our FCC attorney. And actually they were available, but they were taken by a small AM station in Puerto Rico. And so our FCC attorney in Washington said, you can have an FM with the same call letters. You just have to get permission from the station in Puerto Rico. So we called down there and they spoke all Spanish. We didn't speak Spanish, so we didn't know what we were saying to each other. And our GM at the time, God rest his soul, Buddy Birch, his son-in-law was a doctor in New Orleans who spoke fluent Spanish. So he called down there, explained to him what we were doing. Long story short, we ended up sending them $500. They put it in writing through the FCC that we could use CPR. And so we've been CPR for 25 years, thanks to Scot Fox.
Wow. Got anything you want to say about that?
Well, yeah, they wanted the name Rock in the name of this new station. So, I went to thinking, what can we use? And I always liked the term Planet Rock. So I thought, what if maybe the Coast Planet Rock? And I wanted call letters that people would never forget, like FBI or UFO. So I thought of CPR. That could stand for the Coast Planet Rock, which was my idea to call the station. And they didn't like the Planet Rock part, but they loved the CPR part. So we went with that and got the permission to use it and never looked back, I guess.
That's so cool. So people know the story, though, that from CPR came the CPR Fest. The CPR Fest will hopefully one day the CPR Fest will come back again. But CPR Fest became this incredible entity in coastal Mississippi that combined with the Homegrown show, which was on Sunday nights, which is came back 2 weeks ago with Kevin Harris. We'll come to him in a second. But those two things converge to discover Brad Arnold and Three Door Down. Let's bring Brad into the conversation. Brad, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Glad to be here with y'all.
It's good.
Hey, Brad.
So Kenny, let's converge around all three of those things, and let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we, I think our first, I'm terrible with my memories, is not as good as it used to be. I'm pretty sure our first CPR Fest was in 1997. Candlebox might have headlined. We were hoping to break even. And again, we didn't know how many people would show up, but it was several thousand people, so it was a big success. But yeah, we started CPR Fest, and we started the Homegrown Show, which Kevin Cruz was the original host, and the local music scene was flourishing. There were some great bands on the coast, including Brad and Three Doors Down, and we were doing CPR Fest, we were doing the Homegrown Show, and things were just extremely active and moving. There were a lot of bars and clubs on the coast that did live music, and it was just a great time back then.
So, Brad, what does WCPR mean to you when you think about it?
You know what? It means all these things that I've been sitting here listening to y'all talk about for the last 30 minutes. I remember every single one of them. I remember the dog. I remember the dog billboard. I remember all this stuff. That was cool. You know what? That's cool hearing you say where the name came from. That was pretty Coast Planet Rock. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that's how you came up with that. That's really cool. And you held up, Scott, you just held up that poster, man. I remember that poster, seeing that. I remember it plain as day. I remember where I was standing at that concert, because I was at every CPR Fest from the first one to the one we played. Because Candlebox headlined that year, 703 headlined the next year, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I remember when I was standing when they played. I remember every one of them concerts up until the one we played, and that we were kind of gone after that. We were always on tour when it happened. But I listen. I listen to the morning show like y'all talking about. I listen to it every morning going to work. When I worked in Pascagoula, when I worked down the Chevron, and when I worked at Gibson Electric there in Pascagoula, I listen to your morning show too. It's kind of weird for me to sit here and listen to it, because I remember being a fan of it way before I was a part of it. You know what I mean? and so it's really, really interesting to sit here and listen to y'all talk about the different aspects of it from behind the scenes. Because I remember when Rebecca joined them on the morning show and all that stuff, I listened to it every morning. I remember it, and it's so cool to hear y'all talk about that.
So, Brad, think about this though. You were really a monomaniac on a mission as an artist. And it seems to me that CPR was inspiring you the whole time as you were staying focused on writing your music. And then Kryptonite came out and you had this opportunity to play it on Homegrown, as we've discussed in shows in the past. Mm-hmm. It takes off. You guys play at CPR Fest, and man, the rest is kind of history now, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I remember more of those. Some of it becomes a blur so much, but I remember all the things in the beginning down there, and all the things y'all done for us, and that we done together, and playing the shows, even getting to play CPR Fest, and it's remarkable to look back, and it's really cool to sit here and kind of revisit it, because it being 20-something years ago, you kind of forget until somebody starts talking about it, and you're like, wow. And that was, and like Kenny was talking about a minute ago, the ratings on the morning show and stuff down there being it was a magic show. That was a good morning show. It was good. And I'm really thankful to have been a part of a magic kind of era of the coast down there, that it was really cool. And the songs that y'all played influenced the songs that we wrote. From, the first time I ever heard Bush, 16 Stone, was on CPR. Dishwalla, Silver Chair. I downloaded that Silver Chair record the other day, Frog Stomp, and I forgot how good of a record that was. And how good, like, that snare. Remember the snare sound on that record? First time I ever heard that song was on y'all's radio station, you know? And
Hey,
it was
so Brad, I just checked.
much.
So you guys played Kryptonite at CPR Fest. At that point, your career skyrocketed. I just looked, and Kryptonite has been downloaded on YouTube. 302 million has had 302 million views.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of give you a sense of what meteoric rise is all about. Unbelievable that happened.
It's crazy. It's crazy that it happened. And you know, I was doing an interview yesterday and talking about it, and it just talking about somebody asked me, it's like, we were talking about the new song that they went back and we were talking about. So when you wrote Kryptonite, did it feel anything? Did it feel like anything different than you'd ever wrote? And my answer was, well, yeah, it kind of did, you know, because it wasn't one of those songs that was like, well, we'll see what happens. Because the first time we ever played it, it was kind of like, well, that's something, you know, and we didn't know what it would be. But yeah, but you know what? Without y'all, it would have never been anything. Nobody would have ever heard it.
So we have to move on, Brad. But I want to congratulate you on Wicked Man.
Thank you.
Your new single. It's only been out for, I think, about a week, right?
Yeah, it has. It came out a little over a week ago, and I thank y'all for playing it and letting people put that song out there, because that's another one. Without y'all, nobody will hear it. And you know, I put that song out for different reasons. I feel that song was on my heart, and I think it's a song that a lot of people need to hear right now, if just to raise awareness that indeed there is. I think that sometimes we need to remember that there is a common villain in our world, and it's not your brother, it's not your sister standing next to you. You look to the people who stand to gain from conflict, and there you'll find the people causing the conflict. And that's just what that song was about. And it was just the message that I wanted people to hear. And I really, really appreciate you guys putting it out there to let people hear it.
It's very melodic, and it has this really different hook to it that I told Kenny yesterday. It gets in your head.
It kind of does get in your head a little bit. That's a good thing.
It does. I want to recommend people to go take a look at it. Hey, Kevin, let's come to you. We're starting the Homegrown Show back again. We'll end with you telling us about what your vision is, and we'll come back after the break and continue that conversation. Thank you, Brad, for being here. Stick with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, as we go to the end. Kevin, tell me about bringing Homegrown back.
Well, it's been 11 years since Homegrown was on, and as Brad said, I mean, there's a lot of bands that have come through the Homegrown Show. I mean, you've had 12 Stone, Saving Abel, Three Doors Down, Atom Ship. I started writing a list of things, and I've already lost track of it. But it started with Kevin Cruz, and then it moved on to Snack Bar. And then I think CPR Fest 6 or 7, Snack Bar asked me to take it over, and I was all about it. It's one of those shows that I treat like my baby. And then Kenny and I talked about it for, I don't know, probably about a year and a half after I started that little streaming show that I've got about local music. And it's a matter of finding the music now. It's not as easy as when Three Doors and you had Level with the Ground and Aisle 9 and all of those bands all over the place.
Kevin, let's do this. We'll come back after this break and continue the conversation about bringing Homegrown back. This is a celebration of the 25th anniversary of WCPR, and we'll be back after this break.
These are the lies of a bitter heart that you may never understand. They'll promise the world, but they will only take it all away again.
CPR Fest is back, starring Korn.
Feeling like a free falling away from me.
With Breaking Benjamin. October 9th at the Coast Coliseum. Special guest Motionless in White, Silver Snakes, and more acts to be announced. Tickets on sale this Friday, 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. In the Coliseum box office, CPR Fest 19 is coming from 97.9 CPR Rocks.
wanting something, giving nothing, living nothing. You want a feeling inside and you will be inside and live inside and why must you do me just like this? Why must you treat me just like are seen, loving, toning, cheating, living, breathing, wanting something, giving something, needing nothing, living nothing. You want to throw a love outside and be outside and live outside.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I describe myself as a ringmaster today. We all these people tying in from different places, and we're using technology to the best of our ability. But it has been a just absolutely outstanding conversation about the history of CPR. We probably could go on for hours and hours and hours. When we went to the break, it's Kenny Vest and then Scot Fox and then David Harris, who just relaunched Homegrown Show. We're having a conversation. Kevin, why don't you close out your thoughts about where you're headed with Homegrown?
Well, I mean, I think the focus of the Homegrown Show is always we're trying to find that hidden talent. And the coast still has a good music scene. There's still plenty of great music being played. And, you know, they still have other options to get their music heard, but nobody ever gets more excited than to hear their own song on an FM radio station. We just had it the other night. One of the bands posted on Facebook about how much they listened to CPR and the Homegrown Show back in the day and the bands that they heard there, and to be able to hear themselves on CPR during the Homegrown Show again, it was one of their favorite moments, and they sent me a nice little message about it. So I'm glad to have it back, and I'm glad we're finally able to feature a lot of the local music along the Gulf Coast again. So thanks to Kenny and Scott for agreeing to bring it back as well.
Thanks for rejoining our team. And the bands know that there are many stories out there of success as a result of that discovery. None more so, obviously, than Three Doors Down and Brad Arnold and his friends. So why don't we let's move along. Scott, one of the things I'm interested about, we're going to talk about the here and now, the format today. How do you select music?
We have I guess our formula that we've stuck to for so many years. And I mean, it's time tested. It's proven it works. We try to stay away from the overly screaming new rock songs, and there's plenty of them out there right now. We like a song with a hook. We want people to remember it, like Brad said earlier, and songs that just aren't insulting to the listener. We want you to be able to listen to it at work, in your car, no matter where you are. And so that's kind of our formula. And Kenny and I, we pick the music every week. And sometimes we pick songs that aren't played in the rest of the country, but we think they should be smash hits, and they usually become hits here. One of the bands that we did that with was the Glorious Sons. And I found this song, and nobody was playing it. And I brought it to Kenny, and he said, man, this is really good. I said, yeah, I know. No one is playing it. We contacted the record company. They said, man, we're not even trying to get that song played in radio, not on rock radio. And I said, well, guys, you're going to need to, because we're going to play it. So we're just going to start playing. And we did. That song ended up being the #1 song for 5 weeks in rock radio in the U.S. in 2019, the most listened to song in 2019. So, you know, we have our formula, and it's proven that works.
That is amazing. You know, Scott, in these transformative days of, you know, media and technology has changed. Everything has changed. And you know, as Brad will tell you, the business model for music is entirely different than it was when CPR started, or even 3 or 4 years ago. To have that kind of impact for a local radio show, to have that kind of an impact, just tells you how strong we are. So, Kenny, tell me about the health of CPR these days. What do the numbers look like? How is loyalty these days?
You know, CPR is extremely healthy. It's the audience has aged with the format. Like originally, when we came on for many years, our target demo was 18-34 adults, male, female, mainly male, and we dominated. As the station aged, that demographic aged with the station. So we started seeing success 18-49 for a period of time. And then we got to the point, which is in the advertising industry, is the money demo, which is adults 25-54. And we're always at the top or near the top in the ratings in that demo. So you had to figure a guy that was 18 years old, you know, when we came on 25 years ago, is now in his 40s, and he's got his kids, and they're listening to CPR, and it's a generational station. I know it sounds kind of goofy talking about our own station, but it truly is. It's you know, when we go places, Scott's out on the streets more than I am, but people come up and say, I've been listening to the station since I was a teenager, and now my teenagers are listening with me. And it's a very healthy radio station right now. We're bringing some people back. You know, Kevin Harris, Special K, doing the homegrown show. We didn't talk about Denver Crab and Riley. Denver Crab was a superstar on CPR for 10 years, and he did a show with Riley, and we just brought Riley back. So for 2020, CPR is solid. We're very pleased where it is and where it's going. And like Scott was talking about the music earlier, we consciously try to pick songs that, if you're not really into the active rock format, but you're scanning the dial, you're not going to feel like, wow, I shouldn't be hearing this. This is not for me, you know. So we consciously put in bands like Seether, Three Doors Down, artists that have good melodies, big hooks, and easy to listen to. That's the formula we've had for 25 years. Scot Fox and I meet every Tuesday morning. We've done that for 20-something years, and sit down and we go through our playlist and decide on what we're playing, and we're still doing it today. It's still working for us.
Well, congratulations, you guys, for first of all, doing something that is rarely done across the United States, especially these days in the radio business. You're alive and well. You're doing extremely well. You have a great history to tell. Like I said, it's rare to see folks like you guys, Kyle, Scott, Kenny, still together after all these years. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us, and Brad and Fred and Kevin. Appreciate it. And Kyle, my producer, he's the guy who keeps Coast Vue moving. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Have a great day.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thanks, Ricky.